assumptions. We're going to explore how our daily perception of time... Okay, so let's just dive right into this. I want you to go ahead and close your eyes for a second. Seriously, try it. Picture reality. Think about the physical room you're in, the passage of time, the sequence of human history, all those absolute facts you learned back in biology class. You got it? Good. Now I want you to completely forget it, because practically everything you just imagined, everything we just assume is fixed and true is, well, probably wrong. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a sledgehammer to some of our most basic assumptions. We're going to explore how our daily perception of time, the actual timeline of human history, our own biology, and even the universe itself might just be one giant localized illusion. We are going to look at some wild data and science that will absolutely make you question the very nature of your existence. So, let's get into it. Alright, so let's start with our first pillar, the illusion of time. Spoiler alert, your internal clock is completely broken. See, we naturally tend to think of time as this fixed, reliable constant, right? Like, a second is always a second. But your brain simply does not see it that way. Turns out, your mood is basically hacking your internal clock all day long. Researchers have found that our emotions tweak how we feel time based on two things. Your arousal, which just means how high or low your physical energy is, and how pleasant the experience is. So, high arousal, positive emotions. Your brain compresses time. You're at a great party having a blast, and suddenly 3 hours disappear in what literally feels like 5 minutes. But if you flip that to low arousal, negative emotions, like say you're sad or just mind-numbingly bored, your brain stretches every single second. One bad day can feel endless. So it's not just your imagination. Your emotions are actively messing with your reality. And this emotional distortion leads to something psychologists call the holiday paradox. You absolutely know this feeling. Have you ever noticed how a vacation just whizzes by while you're actually on the beach, but then you get home, look back, and it feels like you were gone for months? Well, here's why. We actually track time in two totally different ways. We do it prospectively, which is in the moment, and retrospectively, looking back at a memory. Now, normally, these two sync up just fine. But on vacation, you're flooded with all these brand new experiences. That sheer novelty throws your prospective and retrospective tracking completely out of sync. It's wild. But get this, it is not just our feelings, our actual physical biology warps time too. Just look at these bizarre biological quirks. In 2023, researchers at Cornell hooked students up to heart monitors and found something crazy. When a person's heartbeat is just a tiny bit shorter, they actually perceive a sound as lasting longer. We are literally sensing time through the rhythm of our own hearts without even realizing it. Or take nicotine withdrawal. A Penn State study showed that when smokers go without nicotine for just 24 hours, their internal clock goes totally haywire. They were asked to guess how long 45 seconds was, and they overestimated it by a whopping 50%. And don't even get me started on sleep deprivation. Lack of sleep completely scrambles your circadian rhythms, dragging minutes out like hours. Okay, but the illusion gets even weirder when we zoom out from the human body and look at the actual laws of physics. Have you ever heard of the oh my god particle? Seriously, that's what scientists call it. Discovered back in 1991, this thing was traveling just a tiny fraction slower than the speed of light. And because of that intense speed, it experienced this mind-bending reality called time dilation. Basically, when things move incredibly fast, time literally slows down for them compared to the rest of us. And the exact same thing happens with gravity. Gravity bends space-time, so the deeper you are in a gravity well, the slower time ticks, which means time at the Earth's literal core is ticking slightly slower than it is for you and me sitting up here on the surface. Crazy, right? So if our moment-to-moment perception of time is that broken, what about our long-term perception? That brings us to our second pillar. History is broken. The timeline in your head is a complete illusion. We all tend to compartmentalize history into these neat, separate little boxes. But the reality? Way messier. Think about the late 1880s. You've got Victorian London, totally gripped by the terror of Jack the Ripper. Foggy streets, gas lamps, it feels like ancient history. Well, just 1 year later, in 1889, a guy named Fusajiro Yamauchi was busy founding a little playing card company over in Kyoto, Japan. That company? Nintendo. Oh, and that exact same year, the Eiffel Tower was finished in Paris. So you have a modern video game giant, a Victorian serial killer, and an iconic modern monument, all overlapping in the exact same sliver of time. Let's push it even further back. The Great Pyramid of Giza, completed around 2560 BCE. And yet, almost a full 1,000 years later, a population of woolly mammoths was literally still surviving on Ringle Island in the Arctic. We always picture mammoths exclusively in the Ice Age, but scribes of Mesopotamia were writing down laws and building actual cities while mammoths were just chilling on an island. And speaking of Egypt, the famous Queen Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE. The first commercial cell phone? 1983. That means Cleopatra actually lived closer in history to the invention of the iPhone than it did to the building of the Great Pyramids. Our historical perspective is just so incredibly skewed. Like, we totally forget that Oxford University started holding lectures in the year 1096. That is over a century before Genghis Khan even conceived of the Mongol Empire. Oxford was shaping intellectual futures before the largest contiguous land empire in human history even existed. And if we fast forward to the 20th century, we have Anne Frank, this tragic symbol of the Holocaust, and Martin Luther King Jr., the absolute icon of the civil rights movement. In our textbooks, they feel like they belong in completely different eras, but they were born in the exact same year, 1929. All right, so if our history and our time are just subjective illusions, what about the very instrument we're using to perceive them? Let's pivot to pillar number 3. Your brain and biology are lying to you. So I'm just going to hit you with this number right out of the gate, 25. For decades, our society has treated 18-year-olds as fully developed adults, but neuroscience tells a completely different story. 25 is actually the average age that the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for planning, prioritizing, and controlling impulses, finally finishes maturing. So all those terrible, risky decisions teenagers make, it's really not just rebellion. They literally lack the hardware. And speaking of the brain, we have got to kill this massive myth right here. You've definitely heard that we only use 10% of our brains, right? Completely, absolutely false. Your brain is always 100% active. Even when you are deeply asleep, your neurons are just firing away. But what's really wild is that a major function of all that brain activity is actively trying to forget. Seriously, if you remembered every single excruciating detail of your entire existence, you just couldn't function. Forgetting isn't a bug, it is an intentional, highly functional feature that lets us make flexible decisions and, frankly, stay sane. And you know, just like forgetting is a biological process, researchers at Yale have discovered that making decisions isn't purely logical either. It's actually dictated by 3 distinct neural circuits that connect your frontal cortex to the deeper parts of your brain. Circuit 1 lights up when an experience is pleasant, Circuit 2 fires when it's undesirable, and Circuit 3 acts like your brain's hard drive, recording those memories to influence your very next choice. This completely changes how we view things like addiction or bad habits. Sometimes these circuits just get hijacked. It proves that our choices are deeply, deeply biological, not just a simple matter of willpower. But hey, it's not just deep neuroscience tricking us. Even our everyday food is full of frauds. Okay, you see a strawberry, you call it a berry. Makes sense. But botanically speaking, a true berry has to have 3 distinct flesh layers and hold its seeds on the inside. Because a strawberry wears its seeds on the outside, it is totally disqualified. It's an imposter. Meanwhile, a massive watermelon with all those seeds safely contained inside, scientifically classified as a giant berry. Literally everything you know about fruit salads is a lie. Honestly, all of this really humbles our human arrogance, doesn't it? We walk around thinking we see the world exactly as it truly is, in full, vibrant color, but our vision is so limited. Dogs only have 2 types of color receptors, so they see this kind of muted reality. We humans have 3, giving us our nice, beautiful rainbow, but the mantis shrimp, 12. It has 12 different types of color receptors. They are swimming around down there seeing a psychedelic spectrum of reality, including ultraviolet light, that our measly human brains simply cannot even fathom. We are practically blind compared to them. So we've seen that time is subjective, history is jumbled, and our biological perception is just... Now, for our final pillar, let's zoom all the way out. We're looking at the unfathomable universe. Let's take a quick look at the world of quantum mechanics. Have you ever heard of the quantum Zeno effect? This is a proven, actual theory stating that simply observing an unstable radioactive particle can actually slow down its decay. Really think about that for a second. By simply looking at it, human observation can literally keep something frozen in state. The very act of us watching reality changes how reality behaves. It is almost like the universe is only rendering its graphics when we look directly at it. And the sheer scale of all this, it's genuinely terrifying. If you slide from the absolute smallest building blocks of matter, like infinitesimally tiny strange quarks, all the way out to the largest known structures, like the gigantic Eridanus supervoid. The human mind just breaks down trying to even picture it. Actually, you know what the studies analyzing ancient cosmic microwaves are suggesting that the universe might not even be flat. Instead, the geometry of our entire reality might literally be shaped like a giant curved donut. No way, right? A donut. So when you take all of this together, time slowing down based on gravity, particles freezing just because we look at them, our terribly limited logical perception, a donut-shaped universe, you actually arrive at a theory that some of the brightest scientific minds on Earth are taking very seriously, the simulation hypothesis. It's the idea that everything we experience, our bodies, our thoughts, the entire world around us, might just be code. We might literally be characters in a super high-tech video game run by a far more advanced intelligence. All those glitches we've been talking about today, the time distortions, the weird biology, the quantum weirdness, they might quite literally be software bugs in the system. Which leaves us with this. What does it mean to be human if our existence is just code in a computer program, and is free will an illusion? If our reality is just a simulation, is our free will just a line of code programmed into the matrix? It's a provocative, slightly terrifying, but just endlessly fascinating thought. I really want you to take that question with you today. Keep questioning your reality, keep looking for those glitches in the matrix, and never stop